I'm not starting with the question of what does the book of Revelation mean, but how does this book work within the community of believers that I am called to pastor? And when I think about that, I'm directed over and over and over to this idea of listening. Like we have to listen. It's funny. There are lips to close our mouth. There are lids to close our eyes, but we don't have anything to cover our ears because we're always meant to be listening. And yesterday, when we were reflecting on ecclesia, which each sentence begins as it's addressing each church of the seven churches, it begins with that introduction, the church of. And then it ends with something that we've talked about frequently here. Whoever has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. It ends with that remark. And I find it fitting that in both of these kind of bookended with each letter is a call, a reminder that we are called out ones. We heard a call, and then a reminder to continue listening to that voice outside of the voice of the world, outside of the voice of social constructs, religious constructs, that voice that calls us, the voice of the Holy Spirit. This right here, whoever has ears, let him hear, is something that was taught to us first by Jesus. In fact, Matthew, Mark, and Luke begin the parables of Jesus with the same parable. It is the parable of the sower and the seed. And when Jesus gets finished telling that parable, he says, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." And we are told in that parable that everybody listens differently. There is a listening that is qualitative, and then there is a listening that is not qualitative. And there are, in these four ways of listening, Jesus distills down the way to listen as the healthy way to listen, the healthy posture of listening is to listen with the heart. Receive it deep inside of our heart. So as we're walking through this and as we're reflecting on how does this book work within Lighthouse, within San Francisco, and God has called us really to walk through this book together during this time because he's wanting to speak to us through the filter of the book of Revelation. And the first thing he's saying to us is, whoever has ears to hear, let him hear, let her hear what the Spirit is speaking and saying to the churches. That requires, one, that we listen with a heart that perseveres to hear. We listen with a humility that doesn't set ourselves up as lofty ones or prideful ones, and that we hear with faith that we really believe that the Spirit is speaking. The Spirit is talking to us right now during this time. I want to encourage you after this devotional to stop and listen, and then just write down the first few things that come to mind, like what the Spirit might be speaking, what the Spirit might be saying to you today.